My mind played tricks on me for this game. Nostalgia got the best of me for this one. I have clear memory of a very good time with Mass Effect 2 back in 2010 when it was released. It was a very unique and epic experience, Game of the Year contender, and one of the best sci-fi RPGs ever. But did it age well? Is it worth playing now? Let's go to sections and find out. First section is the story. Mass Effect 2 took immersion and story to the next level. It was really unique having so many options to do and finish main quests and side quests. God knows how many different endings this game has. It has one of the best sci-fi opening cinematics ever and one of the best endings ever. Your choices and upcoming consequences can be felt for real in this game. Story is just great, full with memorable NPCs, with one of the best main protagonists in gaming history. Comedy is covered, action is covered, sci-fi is covered, romance is covered, tragedy is covered. In other words, every segment of the story is there in Mass Effect 2. Story of Mass Effect will grab you and hold you till the very end. It will stick with you forever. You'll never be able to erase all of those great moments and companions from your memory. Story of Mass Effect 2 is the main reason why I stick with this game in 2020. It's full with rich conversations, unexpected things, tragedy, and comedy. You can play as Evil Shepard, Good Shepard, mix of both, your choice. The game world and NPCs will drastically change their opinions about you on every choice you make. This is the pure perfection in storytelling and world building. It doesn't get better than this. 10 out of 10. Game bugs and optimization for the next section. This game, man, it's not optimized well even in 2020. You can feel stutters and lags when you play on 1080p because it was not meant to be played on that resolution. It works far smoother on lower resolutions though. Of course, bugs are also part of the problem here, and some of those bugs are game breaking. Be careful and save manually before every mission. Do yourself a favor, you'll thank me later. I had 10 bugs in the first 10 hours of the game, for example. Glitches and crashes can also happen from time to time. Mass Effect 2 is Mass Defect 2 in this section. Less than 2 years to make the game took its toll on devs. It just needed more time in development, but EA pushed them out of their limits. This game needs a remaster for sure. 5 out of 10 for game bugs and optimization. Next section, game time. It's a long game with a huge replay value. It took me 47 hours to finish the game on Insanity difficulty, hardest difficulty in the game. It would take way much less on lower difficulties for sure. Replay value and different outcomes are just huge part of this game and the game time. 10 out of 10 for game time. Game difficulty as the next section. AI in Mass Effect 2 is close to brain dead, even on Insanity difficulty. Enemies are using duck and cover system same as you and your companions, but their heads or body parts are always picking from covers. Only thing that changes as you raise difficulties is their health, shield, and armor bars. They just become bullet sponges, and this game becomes an agony on hardest difficulty, especially in the first 5 to 10 hours. Not because of the difficulty, but because of ammo, lack of ammo. It's a huge problem for a game that thrives on action and a lot of shooting. Fights take way too long, while enemies present next to no challenge at all on Insanity. My advice, do yourself a favor and play this game on easier difficulties. There is no need to go for Insanity and waste your precious time on bullet sponges. After all, this game is about story. 5 out of 10 for game difficulty. Next section, maps and graphics. Graphics are outdated. Raw edges, bad shadows, poor lighting, it's just a fact. Faces and face animations are still very good though. To be honest, they're impressive for a 10 years old game. Maps are a different story. Huge amount of different planets to visit. The diversity in maps is just brutal. But blend graphics and all are just I don't know how to put it. They're just overwhelming, all of those different areas to visit, you know. As I said before, a remastered version is needed. 7 out of 10 for maps and graphics. Gameplay. The most important part, and part that sucks the most in Mass Effect 2. I don't know what to think about this game. Let's see what you do in the game first. You pick a mission, land on a planet, shoot 50 enemies from cover, then roll to another planet and do the same again and again and again until you're sick of it. You'll use your 3 to 4 abilities per class as well as your 3 to 4 companion abilities, you know. You'll get to incinerate your enemies, freeze them, push them, throw them, break their shields, stun them, and so on. It depends from a class. There are so many better duck and cover shooters than Mass Effect 2. If you are there for shooting, just skip Mass Effect 2 and watch a full movie on YouTube. Do yourself a favor. RPG elements are there. This game is like 20% RPG and 80% a very mediocre and repetitive third-person shooter. The only thing that saves this section a bit is exploration of planets, mining some planets for resources, and of course, choices and consequences. Commander Shepard's character saves this game a lot. Without him, as the main protagonist, this game would be mediocre sci-fi instead of a legendary sci-fi it stands to be now. Gameplay is just bad. There are no other words to put this straight to you. I don't care if you're a fanboy or upset by my opinion here. Gameplay didn't age well. It was solid for 2010 maybe. Ammo is the biggest problem for harder difficulties because enemies, they're bullet sponges and some of them take literally 100 to 200 bullets to drop down. There are more problems here, of course. Your character movement is clunky, it's imprecise. Aiming feels like trying to shoot enemies during earthquakes, every time. Don't make me start about poor key bindings and mouse sensitivity issues also. All in all, 4 out of 10 for gameplay. Leveling and itemization is the next section. Back in Mass Effect 1, you had items, diversity in leveling, upgrades, stats, and so on. Mass Effect 2 was a huge downgrade in this section because it was made for casual players and consoles. There is no more itemization, it's very poor now. Upgrades and leveling, they're reduced to minimum. Abilities are cool to use, but those also become repetitive and boring after a while. Items you get in the game are mostly useless collectibles and some new guns for different classes without damage stats, believe it or not, which is disgusting in its own right for an RPG, what Mass Effect 2 claims to be. Does it get better later on? No, it does not. That's why I can't call Mass Effect 2 an RPG. It's a sci-fi third-person shooter with cosmetic parts instead of pure stats for weapons and gear. Everything is dumbed down, washed. And we can all thank EA for that. They probably think how 90% of world population are complete idiots, so they give us dumbed down action shooters instead of pure RPGs. For leveling, you'll get 6 different classes to pick from. Classic soldier class that will be able to use all guns in the game, sentinel to combine tech and biotic abilities, sniper to stun enemies, and so on. Every class comes with its own unique abilities to level up. Or better to say, spells remain the same, they just hurt more as you level up, nothing else. 4 out of 10 for leveling and itemization. NPCs and enemies. We put aside that enemies are brain dead for this section from the start. I don't count that as a score. What's good then? Everything else is good. It's actually great. Enemies, diversity is huge, a lot of different aliens and races to shoot and talk with. There are 1 million NPCs in this game. All of them are unique in their own way. Your companions, or better to say, your ship crew members, they're just epic. All of them feel important for the story, and all of them are extremely memorable and unique. If not the best companions ever created in gaming history, and they belong here in Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 world building and characters is just one of a kind. 10 out of 10. Music and sound. Music is excellent. Sound effects are also fine, but where this game shines the most is voice acting. Every line in the game is voice acted. Hell, even your codex is voice acting. Voice acting is bloody superb. Voice acting just doesn't get better than this, and that's for sure. 10 out of 10 for music and sound. Conclusion. We got 65 points in 9 sections, and that would be 7.2 out of 10 for Mass Effect 2. It just didn't age well in terms of gameplay, to be honest. It might have been great in 2010, but it's nowhere close as good for 2020. Great immersion and storytelling are eclipsed by brain-dead AI, bugs, bad optimization, lack of leveling options, and bland, boring, and repetitive shooting parts with outdated graphics. Instead of RPG, we got a bad third-person shooter now. So, should you play Mass Effect 2 in 2020? No. Wait for a remastered version if it ever comes out. If you want to get familiar with Mass Effect universe, just go and watch all conversations and entire story on YouTube. There are plenty of videos to pick from. Mass Effect 2 was always overrated. For a good reason though. Shepard's story just overwhelms and hides all of the game flaws. That's how unique main protagonist is, along with the entire universe created. You'll love characters and Shepard's story. You'll care for everyone. Shepard is one of the best, if not the best, sci-fi human characters ever created in the genre and beyond. But this game just fails in terms of RPG elements and gameplay. There are games from 2010 that aged well, for example, like New Vegas, Torchlight, Darksiders, Transformers, Prince of Persia, StarCraft 2, but Mass Effect 2 is just not one of those. Because those previous games had gameplay, Mass Effect doesn't. Vanquish, for example, is far better third-person shooter than Mass Effect 2, and they both came out the same year. Well, with all of that said and done, even with this score, I still believe that Mass Effect 2 is the best game that came out in 2010. After all, 2010 wasn't that good year for gaming at all. You can feel the destructive hand of EA on Mass Effect 2 devs. You can feel that the game was rushed. The devs had limited time to make Mass Effect 2. That they were limited and dumped the game down so they could appeal for bigger audience. After all, most of the devs from old BioWare resigned after Mass Effect 2 for a good reason. EA destroyed their vision. They knew that their product was unfinished and ruined by greedy sponsors and publishers. There was a huge potential behind Mass Effect 2, but the only thing that was finished and polished to perfection in Mass Effect 2 were characters, movies, voice acting, and conversations. So, to answer the question in the title of this video for the end, if you're there for gameplay, shooting, items, RPG, leveling, inventory, or character creation, God forbid, just skip Mass Effect 2. If you're there for story, immersion, art, pure art, look no further than Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 is actually a 30 hours long movie and not a game. A brilliant movie. Hollywood should take notes on how to make a great story from Mass Effect 2. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be seeing you on the next one.